Good morning, dear children. So today we'll be doing chemical equation. Chemical equation. So what is chemical equation? It is the symbolic representation of a chemical reaction using symbols and formula. So how do we write chemical equation? Equation means the atoms in both the sides, number of atoms in both the sides are equal, that is equating. So chemical equation, that means there will be arrow in between the reactants and products. So when we write chemical reaction using symbols and formula, then that is called chemical equation. So what is chemical equation? When we write chemical reaction using symbols and formula, then that is called chemical equation. For example, H2 plus O2 gives H2O. Whatever you can see towards the left of the arrow, they are called reactants, and whatever you see towards the right of arrow, they are called products. Okay, so hydrogen gas, when burns in presence of oxygen gas, they give water as product. So coefficients you can see here. In front of H2, what is there? 2 is there. So 2 in front of a molecule, is a coefficient. 2H2 means 2 molecules of water. 2H2 means two molecules of water. That means number in front of molecule is number of molecules. So 2 molecules of hydrogen gas reacts with 1 molecule of oxygen, gives 2 molecules of water, because these 2 in front of water, H2O, this 2 is also number of molecules. But 2 written at the lower side of hydrogen, these 2, okay, these 2 written in the lower side of hydrogen, this 2 is subscript. What is this 2? This 2 is subscript. Okay, this 2 is in front of H2. This 2 is in front of this H2. So this 2 is coefficient. And this 2 is also coefficient. Coefficient is written in front of the molecule, and this means number of molecules. So you can see here 2 molecules of hydrogen gas combines with 1 molecule. There is nothing means 1 molecule of oxygen gas to give 2 molecules of water. And these 2 which is written on the lower side are called subscripts. So this 2 is also subscript, this 2 is also subscript, and this 2 is also subscript. So these are reactants and these are products. So whatever we write on the left of this arrow are reactants, and whatever we write on the right of this arrow are products. Then reactants, H2 plus O2. This H2 and O2 are the reactants. Hydrogen gas and oxygen gas are the reactants, and product form is H2O only. But if you have to write the balanced chemical equation, then you have to write this. This is the balance equation. Okay, this is the balance equation. So essentials of a chemical, while writing a chemical equation, what are the things we need to learn? What are the things required when we write a chemical equation? Number 1, it must represent a true chemical changes. That means whenever you are writing chemical equation, the chemical equation is the representation of a chemical reaction. So whenever you are writing chemical equation, it must represent a true chemical changes, a true chemical reaction. Number 2, all the reactants and the products of the chemical reaction must be in the form of their respective chemical formulae or symbols. So all the reactants, products, whatever you are writing in chemical equation, they must be written in the form of chemical formula or symbols. Number 3, the total number of atoms of all the elements must be same in both sides. The total number of atoms of all the elements must be same in both sides. Number 4, it must be molecular. That means whenever we write a chemical equation, we write in molecular form. We write in molecular form. For example, H is atomic form. That's why we write H2, which is molecular form. That means we write molecular formula. While writing chemical equation, we write molecular formula. We don't write atomic. We don't write any elements in atomic form. We always write in molecular form. That's why it must be molecular. Then writing the equation in words. Rules for word equations. So how do we write word? First of all, chemical reaction we write in the form of word, and then only we write them in the form of symbols. So reactants, on the left side of the arrow is reactant, on the right side of the arrow is product. Reactants reacts to give products. So what are reactants? Chemical substance or substances which undergoes a chemical change are reactants, and the substance, chemical substance or substances which is formed as a result of a chemical reaction are products. Number 1, for rules for word equation. All of the reactants go to the left of the arrow. All of the reactants go to the left of the arrow, and all of the products go to the right of the arrow. So on the left of the arrow we write all the reactants, on the right of the arrow we write the products. The arrow must be pointing from the reactants to the products always. Mind you, this arrow should not be facing this side. Okay, this arrow should face this side only, towards the product side. The arrow must be an arrow. It is never an equal sign. So it never, you cannot write equal to sign here. It has to be arrow only. It has to be arrow. Then word equations. A word equation is used as a quick shorthand way of writing a chemical reaction. So a word equation, why do we use a word equation? In order to write quick shorthand way of writing a chemical reaction. Reactants gives products. There are always 3 parts to a word equation. So there are always 3 parts of a word equation. The names of the reactants, an arrow, the names of the products. So what is the word equation for hydrogen reacting with oxygen to form water? Hydrogen, which is the reactant, plus oxygen. When there are more than one reactant, we put plus. When there are more than two product or one product, we write plus. So hydrogen plus oxygen, these are reactants, arrow, and the product form is water. This is the way how we write word equation. This is the way how we write word equation. Copper plus oxygen gives copper oxide. Here copper and oxygen are the reactants, and there is arrow, and this is the product, because this is on the right side of the arrow. So product. Magnesium oxide is the reactant, gives magnesium plus oxygen. So on the left of arrow is magnesium oxide, that's why it is reactant. On the right of magnesium, on the right of this arrow, there are magnesium and oxygen, so these are the products. So there are 2 products for this. Then what are the word equations for the following reactions? Magnesium burns brightly in oxygen to form magnesium oxide. So what will be here? Magnesium plus here oxygen, because magnesium burns brightly in oxygen. That means there is reaction between magnesium and oxygen. So you will be writing here magnesium, here oxygen, and this side you will be writing magnesium oxide. This is the work you have to do, mind you. This you have to do in your copy so that you will be practicing. So here magnesium plus oxygen gives magnesium oxide. Then this calcium hydroxide reacts with hydrochloric acid. That means calcium hydroxide is one reactant which reacts with hydrochloric acid. So here you will be writing calcium hydroxide, here you will be writing hydrochloric acid. And what are the products formed? Calcium chloride and water. To form means product. So to give means whatever is given, they are the products. Whatever is coming out, they are the products. So calcium chloride here and water here. Then sodium reacts with hydrochloric acid to form sodium chloride and hydrogen. Out of this, which are the reactants? Sodium reacts with hydrochloric acid. So sodium and hydrochloric acid are the reactants, and sodium chloride and hydrogen are the products. So this much for today.